The unlikely ban. The galaxy was in turmoil. Wars between different factions had been raging for centuries, and the Galactic Council, a powerful organization of various species, had long ruled over the stars. They decided who could fight, who could make alliances, and who could access certain technologies. Among all the species in the galaxy, one stood out: humanity. Humans had always been a mystery to the other civilizations. They were young, only a few centuries into space exploration, compared to the ancient species that dominated the galaxy. Yet humanity had done the unthinkable. They had defeated enemies far stronger and more advanced than themselves. Their success in battle was legendary. Their unpredictable strategies and fierce determination had earned them both respect and fear. But despite their victories, something happened that no one saw coming. The Galactic Council, in a shocking move, had officially barred humanity from any future involvement in galactic conflicts. The news spread quickly, sending ripples of confusion and concern across the galaxy. How could the humans, who had proven themselves time and again, suddenly be excluded from the war efforts? The answer was a mystery, and rumors began to swirl. Some speculated that the Council had grown tired of humanity's aggressive tactics. Others believed the humans had simply made too many enemies. But one thing was certain: this ban had nothing to do with humanity's military strength. It was something far deeper, something hidden from the rest of the galaxy. In the heart of the Galactic Council's main headquarters, discussions were held in secrecy. Representatives from dozens of different species sat in a grand council chamber, their faces filled with unease. The leaders of the council knew that humanity's strength wasn't just physical, it was something more dangerous. Humanity's ability to adapt, to innovate, and to push past impossible odds made them unpredictable. No one knew what the humans might do next, and that made them a threat. The council had a long-standing rule: never underestimate the power of a species that was too young to understand its own potential. Humanity had become just that, a species whose actions could not be predicted. It was a dangerous factor that the council could not allow to go unchecked. On the day the ban was announced, Earth's representatives were left stunned. Earth had earned its place among the stars by proving itself capable, yet it was now excluded from the battles that would shape the galaxy's future. The humans could not believe it. How could they be kept from defending themselves, their allies, and the galaxy? The news quickly reached Earth, and the human response was one of shock, anger, and confusion. On every corner of the planet, people were asking the same question: why? Why were they being banned from something they had a right to fight for? Why had the council chosen to exclude them when their power had been proven time and again? In the midst of this chaos, one person stood out: Captain Jason Walker, a decorated war hero from Earth's fleet, couldn't understand it. His heart burned with questions. He had seen firsthand what humanity was capable of. He had been part of the missions that had saved entire colonies and turned the tide of battles that no one else thought could be won. And now to be told they couldn't participate in the galactic defense. It didn't make sense. As Captain Walker sat in his office, staring at the message from the Galactic Council, he couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this story than anyone was willing to admit. He knew humanity had enemies, but these enemies were afraid of something more, something they hadn't yet discovered. He wasn't alone in his frustration. Across the globe, governments were scrambling to understand the Council's decision. Some leaders argued that it was time for Earth to stand up for itself, to make its own rules without the Council's interference. Others feared that the ban was just the beginning. What if the Council planned to isolate humanity altogether? As the days passed, rumors began to surface. The most common rumor was that humanity's true power, the one hidden from the galaxy, had been discovered by the Council. A power that the humans themselves had no idea they even possessed. There were whispers of a hidden weapon, an ancient artifact left behind by an unknown race that had somehow been connected to Earth's unexpected victories. The more the rumors spread, the more they caught the attention of the galaxy's inhabitants. No one knew the truth, but the idea that humanity had something powerful, something dangerous, stirred the fears of many. And then, one day, a mysterious message was intercepted by Earth's top command. It was a warning, but not from the Galactic Council. This message, unlike any before it, had a strange and cryptic message. The humans must not be allowed to fight. There is a power within them that even they don't understand. If they ever discover it, the galaxy will be in peril. Captain Walker's eyes widened as he read the message again. A power hidden within humanity. What did that mean? Was it some kind of ancient technology? Or was it something more? Something intangible, like the very will of humanity to survive no matter the cost. In a dark room somewhere on Earth, a group of high-ranking military officers gathered. They knew the galaxy was about to face a turning point, and Earth's role was no longer just as a participant in the galactic struggles. They had been banned from the fight. But that didn't mean they had to sit idly by. If anything, this ban was just the beginning of something much bigger, something far more dangerous. As Captain Walker stared out at the stars, he knew that this ban would not keep humanity down for long. The Council had made a mistake. The humans had something they didn't fully understand, but the galaxy would soon find out exactly what that was. The question was, would the rest of the galaxy be ready when the humans finally revealed their true power? The first chapter of this new war had just begun, and no one could predict how it would end. The news of humanity's ban from galactic conflicts spread quickly throughout Earth, and the planet was thrown into a state of confusion and unrest. Governments scrambled to explain the decision, but none could provide answers that satisfied the public or military leaders. The question lingered. Why were humans, who had proven themselves capable in battles across the stars, suddenly barred from participating in the defense of the galaxy? Captain Jason Walker, who had been at the forefront of many of Earth's military victories, felt a deep sense of betrayal. He paced back and forth in his command room, his mind racing with thoughts and questions. He had always believed in humanity's ability to fight and protect. But now, the very organization that was meant to unite the galaxy had placed a ban on Earth. Why? What was so dangerous about humanity that they felt the need to remove them from the battlefield? As he stared out at the vastness of space, he couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this decision than met the eye. He recalled the victories Earth had secured. Against overwhelming odds, against races with superior technology and military strategies. They had won the impossible battles time and again. But now, the Galactic Council had imposed this mysterious ban. It seemed like a mere formality to them, something to control a growing threat that they didn't understand. But what did the Council know that Earth didn't? While Jason's thoughts were consumed with the ban, a secret conversation was unfolding in the heart of the Galactic Council. The representatives of various species sat in a dark, circular chamber, their faces masked with concern and secrecy. There was tension in the air. The decision to bar humanity had been swift, but the consequences were far-reaching. One of the council members, a towering alien with shimmering green skin, spoke first. "We cannot afford to underestimate humanity any longer. They are a threat, not because of their technology, but because of their spirit. Their ability to rise from the ashes of defeat and strike back with a vengeance. It's something we have never seen before." Another member, a reptilian alien whose eyes glowed a deep red, added, "Yes, their unpredictability is their greatest weapon. They don't follow the rules of war as we know them. It's almost as if they don't fear defeat. They thrive on it." A third member, a humanoid species with multiple arms, leaned forward. "We must not let them discover the full extent of their potential. If they unlock the power that lies within them, it will change the balance of the entire galaxy. And not in our favor." The room grew silent as the weight of the words settled on the council. The ban had not been a simple decision. It had been born out of fear of what humanity could become. There was something lurking beneath the surface of human history, something that even the humans themselves were unaware of. Back on Earth, Jason Walker had a growing sense of dread. As a seasoned officer, he knew when something didn't feel right. The Council's decision to keep Earth out of galactic conflicts was more than just political maneuvering. There was something they were hiding, something they were afraid of, and it was tied to humanity. He had heard the rumors, the whispers of a power deep within Earth's history. Could this hidden power be the reason the Council was so determined to keep them out of the war? And what did this mean for the future of Earth? Jason's thoughts were interrupted when a cryptic message appeared on his communication screen. It was an anonymous transmission, intercepted from the far reaches of space. The message was simple, but its meaning was clear. The humans must never know the truth. If they discover it, the galaxy will tremble. Act quickly before they uncover it. The message sent chills down Jason's spine. What was this truth that humanity wasn't supposed to know? The more he thought about it, the more the pieces began to fit together. The Council's decision to ban humanity wasn't just about their military strength. It was about something far deeper, something rooted in humanity's past, something that no one had been able to uncover until now. Jason immediately gathered a team of his most trusted officers. They would need to find answers. They would have to dive deep into the mysteries of Earth's ancient history and search for any clues that could explain the Council's actions. There was no turning back now. As they began to investigate, they stumbled upon a long-forgotten artifact, a relic of the ancient past. It was an object of immense power, something that seemed to resonate with an energy unlike anything they had ever encountered. It had been hidden away for centuries, locked away by those who feared its potential. The artifact was a piece of a much larger puzzle, one that could reveal the truth behind the Council's fear of humanity. But this was just the beginning. As they uncovered more secrets, they began to realize that humanity had always been destined for something greater. The galaxy had underestimated them, but now, the time had come for humanity to reveal the power that had been lying dormant for millennia. But Jason knew that the Council would stop at nothing to keep this power from awakening. They would do whatever it took to ensure that humanity never reached its full potential. And so, he made a decision that would change everything. He would not sit idly by while humanity's future was decided by those who feared it. He would unlock humanity's hidden potential, no matter the cost. As the investigation into the artifact deepened, the team uncovered more shocking revelations. They learned of an ancient civilization, long extinct, that had left behind a powerful legacy. This civilization had mastered technology that transcended time and space, and it was said that their greatest secret was hidden within the very fabric of Earth itself. The artifact was just the beginning. It was the key that could unlock humanity's true power, a power that could reshape the galaxy and change the fate of every living being within it. And now, humanity was on the verge of discovering that power. But the question remained, would the galaxy be ready for what was about to come? As Jason Walker and his team delved deeper into their investigation, they uncovered more mysteries about the ancient artifact. The object was far more than just a relic. It was a key that held the potential to unlock a secret buried deep within Earth's history. But what was this secret? And why was it so dangerous that the entire galaxy's governing body, the Galactic Council, had decided to keep humanity from knowing it? The team worked tirelessly, analyzing the artifact under every possible scientific method they had at their disposal. Despite their best efforts, the artifact seemed almost impervious to understanding. There was no language inscribed on it, no markings, and no indication of its origin. It was unlike anything they had ever encountered. The only thing they knew for sure was that it was old, older than anything on Earth. Jason couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the verge of something monumental. If this artifact truly held the key to unlocking humanity's power, then it was not just a weapon. It was a symbol of their forgotten legacy. A legacy that the Galactic Council had worked so hard to suppress. Days turned into weeks as the team tried every method they knew. But still, nothing. They couldn't even scratch the surface of its true nature. It wasn't until one of Jason's officers, Lieutenant Sarah Connors, noticed something peculiar. a small, almost imperceptible symbol etched into the surface of the artifact. It was faint, almost invisible, but it was there. A pattern. "Jason, look at this," Sarah said, holding up the artifact. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were wide with realization. "I think I found something." Jason stepped forward, peering over her shoulder at the small engraving. The symbol looked like nothing they had seen before. An intricate pattern, almost like a map of interconnected lines. It seemed familiar, yet alien. Sarah quickly accessed the ship's database and cross-referenced the symbol with known ancient languages and codes, but nothing matched. This wasn't a simple code, she realized. It was far older than anything recorded in their database. With the symbol discovered, Jason ordered a deeper search. This time, they focused their efforts on Earth's ancient records. Ancient manuscripts, ruins, and long-forgotten texts. After several days of searching, they found something buried in the most obscure of texts. A reference to an ancient civilization that had once inhabited Earth, long before humanity's rise to power. The texts described a civilization that had once wielded unimaginable power that could reshape entire galaxies. The civilization had vanished mysteriously, leaving behind only scattered ruins and a handful of cryptic texts. But in one of the texts, there was a mention of a key that could unlock the full potential of Earth's true power. Was this artifact the key? The pieces were slowly starting to fit together. Jason felt a sense of urgency building inside him. He couldn't shake the thought that the Galactic Council had known about this secret for centuries. And now, they were actively trying to prevent humanity from discovering it. Why? Was it because they feared what humanity could become if they unlocked the full potential of their ancient legacy? But as the team continued their research, something even more disturbing happened. The artifact's energy readings began to fluctuate. It seemed to be reacting to the environment. The more they investigated, the more the artifact hummed with a low, almost imperceptible vibration. Jason called for a team of engineers to investigate the source of the energy. They discovered that the artifact was not only a key, but it was also a beacon, something that had been dormant for thousands of years. A signal that was slowly activating. "It's like it's waiting for something," Lieutenant Connors said, her voice filled with awe. "It's as though it's been waiting for us to trigger it." The team speculated that the artifact had been hidden by the ancient civilization as a failsafe for when humanity, or whoever came after them, was ready to wield the power of the civilization. The Galactic Council had tried to bury this knowledge, but it was clear now that the knowledge had never truly been lost. Humanity's destiny had always been tied to the artifact. It was part of their history, part of their future. But with the artifact's activation came a terrifying realization. The signal it was emitting was not just a message, it was a warning. And the deeper they probed, the clearer it became that the artifact was not only capable of unlocking power, it was capable of destroying it. Whoever controlled this power would have the ability to destroy entire star systems, to control the very fabric of space and time. The Galactic Council had feared this. They had feared humanity discovering this ancient power because they knew that if humanity ever unlocked it, they would become the dominant force in the galaxy. They would no longer be a mere species, but a galactic force to be reckoned with. But with this power came a choice. Would humanity use it to reshape the galaxy, or would they let it fall into chaos? As the team continued their work, Jason couldn't help but feel the weight of their discovery. If they unlocked the full potential of the artifact, they would no longer be just humans. They would be gods, capable of changing the fate of the entire galaxy. But with that power came responsibility and danger. Humanity had always prided itself on its ability to overcome, to rise in the face of adversity. But now, with this ancient power in their hands, would they be able to control it? Or would it control them? The time was running out. The Galactic Council was already mobilizing their forces, prepared to take extreme measures to prevent humanity from gaining access to the artifact's full power. They knew that once humanity understood what they had uncovered, it would be too late. The power would be unleashed, and the galaxy would never be the same. Jason's team was on the brink of unlocking the final secrets of the artifact, but they knew that once they did, they would be at the center of a galactic storm. The question was no longer if humanity would find out the truth, it was when. And when that day came, would the galaxy be ready for what followed? The signal from the artifact continued to pulse, louder now, stronger. Jason felt the weight of their discoveries pressing down on him. There was no turning back. The future of humanity and the galaxy itself hung in the balance. The time for hiding the truth was over. The real war was about to begin. The air aboard the research ship was thick with anticipation. Jason and his team had worked tirelessly for weeks, studying the artifact and piecing together the clues hidden in the ancient records. Now, they stood on the brink of something unimaginable. The artifact had shown its true nature, and they were moments away from unlocking its full potential. Jason glanced around the command center, his eyes landing on each member of his crew. There was no turning back now. They had reached the point of no return. The artifact was no longer just a mysterious object. It had become the key to the galaxy's future. But with that key came the heavy burden of choice. "Are you sure we're ready for this?" Sarah Connors, his second-in-command, asked quietly. Her voice was calm, but Jason could sense the same unease that gnawed at him. The team had uncovered incredible power, but at what cost? "We have no choice," Jason replied, his voice firm. "We've come this far, and the Galactic Council won't allow us to stop now. If they get their hands on it first, they'll use it against us, and they'll use it to keep humanity in check. This isn't just about us anymore. It's about our future." Sarah nodded, though she still looked uncertain. The artifact hummed softly in the center of the room, its vibrations now growing stronger with each passing minute. The signal it emitted had intensified, and it was clear that the device was about to do something. But what? Jason didn't know, but he could feel it in his bones. A surge of energy, as though the galaxy itself was holding its breath. "Engage the activation sequence," Jason ordered, his voice steady despite the chaos of emotions swirling inside him. The team had prepared for this moment, running countless simulations, but nothing could truly prepare them for what was about to unfold. The unknown always carried its weight. Sarah's fingers hovered over the control panel. For a brief moment, everything seemed to freeze. No one spoke, no one moved. It was as if the entire ship was caught in a suspended moment in time. Then, with a deep breath, Sarah pressed the button. The room shook as the artifact pulsed with an intensity that felt like it might tear the ship apart. The walls groaned under the pressure, and every crew member braced themselves as the artifact activated. A blinding light filled the room, forcing everyone to shield their eyes. And then, silence. When the light finally faded, the ship's systems rebooted, and the crew looked around, trying to process what had just happened. The artifact had powered down, but something had changed. The air felt heavier, charged with an energy that was both alien and familiar. "We've done it," Jason whispered, almost in disbelief. The artifact's true power had been unlocked, and it was more than they could have ever imagined. It wasn't just a weapon. It was an energy source, a limitless well of power that could change the very fabric of reality. But even as Jason marveled at the artifact's potential, a cold, creeping fear began to take root in his heart. The signal wasn't just a message, it was a beacon. And now, the galaxy would know that humanity had discovered it. "We need to move," Sarah said, her voice shaking as the implications of their discovery settled in. "The Galactic Council is going to come for us. They'll stop at nothing to take that power from us." Jason nodded grimly. He knew Sarah was right. The Galactic Council had already shown their hand. They had been trying to prevent humanity from accessing this power for centuries. And now, they had failed. They would come, and they would come with everything they had. "Prepare the ship," Jason ordered, his mind racing. "We need to get back to Earth, and we need to get there fast. If we don't, the Council will have the power to crush us before we even have a chance to defend ourselves." As the crew scrambled to prepare the ship for departure, Jason couldn't help but feel the weight of what they had just done. They had unlocked a power that could reshape the galaxy, but they had also set into motion a chain of events that would change everything. The Council would never let humanity wield such power. They would do whatever it took to ensure that humanity remained a pawn in the galaxy's larger game. And as the ship's engines roared to life, Jason knew that this was only the beginning. The real battle was about to start. The Council would come, but humanity was no longer the weak, vulnerable species they had once been. They had the power now, the power to challenge the entire galaxy. "Ready, Captain?" Sarah called from the control panel, snapping Jason out of his thoughts. The ship was fully prepared, and the crew was standing by, waiting for his command. "Let's go," Jason said, his voice filled with determination. "We're going home." The ship shot forward, its engines blazing as it accelerated toward Earth. But even as they left the distant star systems behind, Jason couldn't shake the feeling that the galaxy was already moving to meet them. The Council would be coming, and they would not stop until they had destroyed the threat that humanity now posed. But Jason wasn't afraid. For the first time in his life, he felt the power of humanity flowing through him. They had been underestimated, sidelined, and forgotten for too long. But now, they were going to show the galaxy just what humanity was capable of. The unknown future lay ahead, but Jason knew one thing for certain: humanity would not be silenced. They had the power to change the course of the galaxy, and they would do whatever it took to ensure that they would not be stopped. The ship's engines hummed with a quiet power as they raced through the void of space. Jason stood at the helm, staring out at the endless expanse of stars. The crew worked in silence behind him, each of them focused on their tasks, but the tension was palpable. It was as if the universe itself was holding its breath, waiting for the inevitable clash between humanity and the Galactic Council. Jason's mind raced, consumed by the enormity of what they had uncovered. The artifact's power was unlike anything they had ever seen, an untapped energy source that could fuel the galaxy or destroy it. And it was now in humanity's hands. The Council would come, and they would come with everything they had. He glanced at Sarah, who was seated at the communications console, her fingers flying over the controls. "Any updates from Earth?" Jason asked. Sarah's face remained unreadable, but her eyes betrayed her worry. "No direct communications, Captain. But we've picked up some unusual transmissions coming from Council-controlled space. They've been monitoring us. I think they know what we've done." Jason's gut clenched. The Council had spies everywhere. If they were aware of humanity's newfound power, it was only a matter of time before they sent their fleets to stop them. The artifact might have given them the power to defend themselves, but it had also made them a target. "We need to be ready," Jason said, his voice firm. "I don't care how long it takes. We'll fight for Earth, and we'll fight for humanity. But we need to prepare for the worst. The Council will bring their full might." A low rumble vibrated through the ship as they neared the edge of Council-controlled space. The vast, empty void was now filled with a sense of impending doom. Jason could almost feel the weight of the galaxy pressing in on him, suffocating him with the knowledge that everything they had worked for could come crashing down in an instant. The ship's alarm suddenly blared, cutting through the silence like a dagger. "Captain, we've detected multiple incoming ships." Sarah's voice rang out in the command center. "It's the Council fleet. They've found us." Jason's heart skipped a beat. The Council had made their move sooner than he'd expected. He quickly turned to his crew. "Brace for impact. Battle stations." The ship's walls shook as it jolted forward, the sudden acceleration forcing everyone to hold onto their stations. Jason gripped the armrest of his seat, his pulse pounding in his ears. They were here. The battle they had been dreading was about to begin. The view screen flickered to life, showing the black void of space, a fleet of sleek, Imposing ships loomed ahead, their weapons primed and ready. The Council's flagship, a massive vessel that dwarfed anything humanity had ever constructed, led the charge. It was a symbol of their overwhelming power, a reminder that they ruled the galaxy with an iron fist. "We're outnumbered," Sarah muttered under her breath, her fingers dancing over the controls. "But we have the artifact. If we can use its power, we can't afford to waste any time." Jason cut in. "If we're going to survive this, we have to strike first." The tension in the air was thick as they closed the distance to the Council fleet. Jason's mind raced with calculations and strategies. They had the power of the artifact on their side, but using it was a risk. The artifact's energy could devastate anything in its path, but it was unstable. If they were too reckless, they might destroy themselves along with the enemy. "We're locking onto their flagship," Sarah said, her voice tight. "I'm preparing to fire the artifact's energy beam." Jason took a deep breath. "Do it. We don't have a choice." The hum of the artifact grew louder, filling the ship with its ominous resonance. Jason felt the power radiating from it, like a storm building just beneath the surface. This was it, the moment of truth. The galaxy would never be the same. Suddenly, a flash of light erupted from the ship, and the view screen showed the Council flagship disintegrating in a blinding explosion. The shockwave rocked their ship, but it held steady. The artifact had done its job. Jason exhaled sharply, his hands gripping the console as the destruction of the flagship registered in his mind. But the victory was short-lived. As the smoke from the explosion cleared, Jason saw that the rest of the Council fleet was not backing down. They were coming in full force, ready to annihilate them. "We're not done yet," Sarah said, her voice tight with determination. "More ships are coming in. They're not retreating." Jason's heart raced. They had struck a devastating blow to the Council's flagship, but the battle was far from over. The galaxy had now become a battleground, and humanity was right in the middle of it. The Council's retaliation would be swift and brutal. The power of the artifact was formidable, but humanity's survival was no longer guaranteed. "Prepare for another attack," Jason commanded. "We'll keep fighting. We're not going to let them take Earth, and we're not going to let them take this power." The crew moved quickly, their movements becoming more synchronized as they prepared for the next wave of attacks. Jason knew that their greatest test was still ahead. The artifact had given them the power to fight back, but it had also made them the target of the most powerful force in the galaxy. The ship lurched as they prepared for the next barrage, and Jason couldn't help but wonder, was humanity truly ready for what lay ahead, or had they just unleashed a force too powerful to control? As the battle raged on, Jason's resolve grew stronger. No matter what the cost, humanity would fight. They would show the galaxy that they were no longer weak, no longer afraid. They were a force to be reckoned with. The Council would regret underestimating humanity. The battle had raged for hours. The once peaceful emptiness of space was now filled with the roar of destruction. Humanity's ship, battered and scarred from countless direct hits, was still holding strong. The energy from the artifact had proven more effective than anyone had imagined, but its power was unpredictable. Every time they unleashed its full force, it sent ripples of unknown energy through their ship, making everyone tense. Despite this, the humans on board remained resolute. Jason stood at the helm, sweat trickling down his forehead as he stared at the screens. The view screen was filled with the image of the advancing Council fleet, its numbers multiplying as reinforcements arrived. Each time they thought they were gaining an upper hand, another wave of enemy ships would descend upon them. But this time, things were different. The shock from their first devastating strike had left the Council fleet shaken, and it seemed as though they were waiting for the final blow. Jason could feel it. The enemy was trying to regroup, to form a final strategy, but they were too slow. Humanity's resolve was stronger than they had anticipated. "Captain." Sarah's voice cut through the tension. "We've locked onto their flagship's communications. They're panicking. They didn't expect us to still be standing." Jason's eyes narrowed as he processed her words. What are they planning? Sarah's fingers flew over the console. It seems they're preparing for one final assault. They're bringing in their heavy hitters. Destroyers, dreadnoughts, the works. It'll be a full-on blitz. Jason took a deep breath, his mind racing. The battle was far from over, and the odds were still stacked against them. But humanity had already defied expectations. They had already proven they were not as weak as the Council had believed. And now, the time had come for their final push. Set course for their command ship, Jason said firmly, his voice cutting through the chaos. We hit them where it hurts. Sarah didn't hesitate, punching in the coordinates. Humanity's ship surged forward with a new determination, cutting through the debris and fire from the battle. As they approached the heart of the Council's fleet, the enemy ships fired relentlessly, but their attacks seemed to have less purpose now, more desperate, like they were fighting not to win, but to survive. Jason looked at the screen, his pulse quickening. The massive Council flagship, a colossus of technology and military might, loomed in front of them. This was it. If they could destroy the flagship, they would cripple the Council's ability to wage war. They would send a message to the entire galaxy. Humanity was not to be underestimated. Lock onto the flagship's core, Jason ordered. Maximum power to the artifact. This ends now. The hum of the artifact grew louder, vibrating through the ship, filling the air with an electric buzz that was almost tangible. Jason could feel the immense power coursing through the ship, the energy ready to be released. His grip tightened on the armrest, and his eyes never left the view screen. There was no turning back. Suddenly, the ship lurched violently as the blast from the Council's fleet hit them head-on. The whole vessel shook, and alarms blared in every corner of the ship. The force of the blast sent everyone sprawling, but Jason's focus remained unwavering. Status report, he barked. Shields are at 50%, Sarah said, her voice strained but steady. We're holding up, but not for long. Jason nodded. Keep pushing forward. We need to reach their flagship. The ship surged again, engines roaring with all the power they could muster. They were closing in. The flagship was just ahead, and the moment of truth was upon them. The Council had no idea what was coming. Captain, we're within range, Sarah reported. The artifact's energy is fully charged. Do you want me to fire? Jason didn't hesitate. Fire. With a blinding flash, the ship unleashed the artifact's full power. A beam of pure, concentrated energy shot forward, hitting the Council flagship with devastating precision. The entire ship seemed to tremble before the explosion, which tore through its outer defenses in an instant. It was unlike anything the humans had ever seen. The artifact's power was overwhelming, and the destruction was unlike anything the Council could have imagined. The flagship shuddered, its massive frame cracking under the strain. The enemy fleet, seeing their command ship in ruins, faltered. Some ships veered off course, unable to maintain formation. Others, realizing the battle was lost, began retreating into the depths of space. Jason watched as the view screen showed the massive cloud of debris where the flagship once stood. The Council's command center, their most powerful ship, had been destroyed in one strike. But the victory wasn't without its cost. The ship's systems flickered as the energy of the blast sent a shockwave through their own vessel. Sparks flew from the control panels, and the lights dimmed. The artifact's power had taken its toll. We've done it, Sarah said, disbelief and triumph in her voice. We've won. Jason didn't allow himself to relax. Not yet, he said, his voice firm. We've won the battle, but the war isn't over. The Council won't stop just because we destroyed one ship. We need to finish what we started. As the remains of the Council's fleet scattered, Jason knew they had made their mark on the galaxy. Humanity had not only proven their strength, but had shown that they were capable of fighting back against the most powerful forces in the universe. The Council had underestimated them. And now, humanity had shown the galaxy just how wrong they were. But this victory was only the beginning. Humanity had struck a blow, but they were ready for the next fight. With the artifact's power in their hands, they knew they could face whatever came next. And if the Council thought they could stop them, they would quickly learn that humanity was a force that could never be contained. The debris from the Council's flagship drifted slowly in space, a stark reminder of the battle that had just unfolded. Humanity had done the unthinkable. They had struck at the heart of the most powerful empire in the galaxy and delivered a blow that would echo for eons. But even as their ship limped away from the wreckage, humanity knew the war wasn't truly over. The Council's pride had been wounded, and a wounded animal was always the most dangerous. Captain Jason stood on the bridge, watching the swirling debris on the view screen. His mind raced, calculating what the future held. This victory was significant, but he understood better than anyone that the Council would not let this slide. They would come back stronger, angrier, and even more desperate. "Status report, Sarah," Jason asked, his voice steady but filled with a grim anticipation. "Repairs are underway, Captain," Sarah replied, her fingers flying across the control panel. "The hull is intact, but we're low on fuel and supplies. The artifact's energy reserves are almost depleted." Jason turned away from the screen and walked toward the map of the galaxy displayed on the wall. The grid was dotted with the locations of the Council's strongest fleets, and each one was marked with red warning symbols. The enemy wasn't just going to vanish because of one loss. If anything, they would come after humanity harder. "They'll rebuild," Jason muttered to himself. "They'll rebuild, and they'll come for us." "Should we retreat to Earth?" Sarah asked. "We've shown them what we can do, but we've paid a heavy price. We need time to regroup." Jason's eyes narrowed. Retreating wasn't an option. The Council thought they could destroy humanity, but Earth had already proven its resilience. Jason had seen what they were capable of when pushed to the edge, and he knew the galaxy would never be the same again. "No," Jason said firmly. "We're not retreating. We're going to show the galaxy that humanity isn't just a force to be reckoned with. We're a force that changes everything. The Council may think we're weak, but after what they've just seen, they'll think twice before challenging us again." He turned and faced his crew, each of them tired and battered from the ordeal, but all of them still standing strong. "Prepare the fleet," Jason commanded. "We're not running. We're going to hit them where it hurts. It's time to finish this war on our terms." For the first time in months, Sarah allowed herself a smile. She had never seen Jason so determined. They had fought for survival, and now they were fighting for something greater. This wasn't just about vengeance. It was about showing the galaxy the truth. Humanity wasn't just surviving. They were evolving. The ship's engines roared to life as the crew began their preparations. Jason stood tall, watching the stars in front of him. He could feel the weight of the galaxy pressing down on them, but he was no longer afraid. The Council had thought they could break humanity, but they had underestimated the human spirit. "Prepare to jump to the first fleet's location," Jason ordered. "Once we arrive, we strike fast, and we strike hard. No mercy." As the ship powered up and the crew rushed to carry out the commands, Jason's thoughts wandered back to Earth. It had been over a year since the destruction of their home planet, a year since the artifact had been activated, and their last hope of survival had been sparked. The people on Earth had thought they were doomed, but humanity had risen from the ashes. And now, they were no longer the underdogs. They were a force capable of toppling even the mightiest empires. "Captain," Sarah said, interrupting his thoughts, "we've just received a transmission from the Council. They're offering terms of peace. They want to negotiate a ceasefire." Jason's lips curled into a slight smile. The Council had realized the truth. Their empire was on the brink of collapse. They couldn't afford another fight with humanity. Not now. They knew humanity's wrath was too powerful, too unpredictable. "Send a response," Jason ordered. "Tell them we'll only accept one thing: surrender." A silence fell over the bridge as Sarah relayed the message. Jason's mind was already racing, thinking of the next steps. This war, this conflict, was just the beginning of humanity's journey. The galaxy would never see humanity the same way again. For far too long, they had been underestimated. For far too long, they had been pushed around, told they were too insignificant to matter. But now, humanity had shown its true power, and no one would ever forget it. Jason turned to Sarah one last time. When this war ends, the galaxy will understand. Humanity is no longer a footnote. We're not the weak species they thought we were. We're the new rulers of this galaxy. The ship's engines hummed as they prepared to jump into the heart of enemy space. Jason took a deep breath, his grip tightening on the command chair. The future of the galaxy was in their hands now, and he wouldn't stop until humanity had claimed its rightful place. The crew of the ship, the last of humanity's warriors, had one final message for the galaxy. We're coming. And this time, no one would stand in their way.